Hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. Okay, so in the last class we were talking about rise of Mahajanpadas, and especially we talked about Magad Empire. We talked about different dynasties, Haranyak dynasty, Shishunag dynasty, and finally Nand and of course Chandragupta Maurya, Bindusar, and we had started our discussion about Ashoka. But we have to read frankly a lot about Ashoka because we have lot of information about Ashoka. So for Chandragupta Maurya and Bindusar we use Arthashastra or we use Indica. So we still have limited information. But in case of Ashoka, the amount of information is really huge because Ashoka wrote a lot of things. He got a lot of things written in different part of the country and he got them inscribed into different scripts. In not only in India, in fact even outside India. For example, we find a lot of Ashokan inscriptions in Afghanistan, some in Nepal also, in Pakistan definitely there are few of them. So all Ashokan inscriptions, which is also called edicts of Ashoka, तो एक term आपको मिलेगा जिसको बोलेंगे edicts. All of these Ashokan edicts mainly can be divided into two categories, major and minor. Major basically, as the name suggests, a detailed description about his idea about Dhamma. So he uses a word Dhamma, like how people should behave, what should be the roles and responsibilities of everyone in a society. While जो minor edicts हैं, minor edicts mainly are religious in nature. So major edicts are mainly political and at the same time moral in nature. जो minor edicts हैं, they are religious in nature. Religious in the sense that minor edicts talk a lot about Buddha himself or the patronage of Ashoka to Buddhism, all these things. So ये तो पहला एक differentiation है. Second differentiation is that in many cases he got these inscriptions written on rocks, okay, or at some point at few places he got erected a pillar and on these pillars he got these things written. So based on that, based on the object which these inscriptions are written, we also divide them either as a rock inscription or pillar inscription. So clearly we have चार type तो हमको यहीं से मिल गया. Major rock inscription, minor rock inscription, major pillar inscription, minor pillar inscription. इसमें एक और category sub category add करते हैं because they are special in nature. Few extra information is given which are called special inscriptions. So total all Ashokan edicts, they are divided mainly into 5 categories and total of 33 such inscriptions we have found. One more thing, often a lot of people get confused that ये जो inscriptions हैं, these inscriptions are not separately, for example, जो major rock edict 1 है, it is at one place and 2, that is true, but at many places we find more than one inscriptions. More than one description about his Dhamma, about his idea, right? And in most of the times, which I already told you in last class, in most of these inscriptions, he is known as Devanam Piyadasi. At very few instances, he uses his name Ashoka, and very few minor inscriptions in fact. So there is a huge list of major and minor inscriptions. I feel like if I just like make you write each and everything, that will be wastage of time also. And it's very factual in nature. However, I will get a PDF uploaded with respect to the description of every inscription. And at the same time, but few things I want you to write, few things which according to me are more important. पिछले कुछ सालों में क्वेश्चंस आए नहीं थे अशोकन इंस्क्रिप्शन से. जैसे बहुत पहले पूछा था 2010-11 में, मुझे एक बार क्वेश्चन याद है. देयर वाज अ क्वेश्चन ऑन Ashoka's contact with southern kingdoms, से कौन से inscription का part है. That was a question way back. But last to last year they did ask a very very difficult question on Ashokan inscription. So often you feel कि हाँ वैसे factual questions नहीं आएंगे, but then again UPSC surprises you. So कोई shortcut नहीं है. There is no shortcut here. कोई याद करने का कोई shortcut है नहीं. But few major rock inscriptions which you should know. So just give this heading Edicts of Ashoka. edicts of Ashoka. They are divided mainly into 4 categories. They are divided mainly into 4 categories according to their size, according to their size, according to their bracket में लिख लेना size, according to their size they can be either minor or major. And according to their medium, and according to their medium, so rock or pillar. According to their medium. Minor pillar edicts, एक लाइन में लिख लेना बस, minor pillar edicts, minor pillar edicts are religious in nature, are religious in nature. That is, they mention about Buddha extensively. They mention about Buddha extensively. While major edicts are moral and political in nature, moral and political in nature, moral and political in nature. That is, the main focus is on general concept of dharma या धम्म, general concept of dhamma. Of course these concepts are associated with Buddhist ideals, इसमें कोई doubt नहीं है, but they are more have a moral and political orientation. They are moral and political in nature. They are moral and political in nature with focus on the general concept of Dhamma. Ashoka's Dhamma, एक लाइन लिख लेना यहाँ पे, Ashoka's Dhamma spread the message of peaceful coexistence, among different religious sects at that time. Peaceful coexistence among different religious sects of the time. It also mentions proper behavior. And non-violence. This is also a very interesting theme which cannot be said for any other civilization. That even in ancient times, because we have evolved from a tribal society, even in ancient times people are very much interested in non-violence. इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि वायलेंस नहीं है, Violence है, but people are discussing about non-violence, about abolishing war, about, in fact, protecting animals also. Non-violence just not for human beings, but also for animals. We do not find any parallel anywhere in the world. So even 2000 years ago, people are talking about non-violence as a very, very important concept. So that should not be confused with that there is no violence. So दोनों different चीजें हैं. But even this discussion about non-violence, that is not present. That is not present anywhere else in the world, right? So there are total 14 major rock edicts. So major rock edicts तो पक्के से देखो पता होने चाहिए. जो 14 major rock edicts हैं. In one line description, major rock edict 1, what does it talk about? In one line. At every rock edict you find similar statements. Or statements are, all of them have been translated. And these statements are written down in different scripts. Most prevalent script is Brahmi script, but at times Kharosthi has also been used, right? So both Brahmi and Kharosthi have been used in these Ashokan inscriptions. And same statements are found at different places in the country. So he wanted to propagate his ideas. So this idea about missionary activities, right? Propagating your religious or philosophical ideas to different part of the country. So Ashoka is again very, very famous for this thing. And Buddhist missionaries going to different part of the country, his empire, and spreading his ideas about Dhamma. Lot of historians feel, lot of people feel, not historians, lot of people feel, I remember my father was once telling me that maybe Mauryan Empire disintegrated because Ashoka accepted non-violence. That is not true, frankly. Mauryan Empire disintegrated simply because the empire was too huge to govern. And when local governors became more powerful, they had more avenues, more agriculture surplus. They also got to know about more iron weaponaries. They of course wanted to establish their autonomy, their independence. So Ashoka, even though he accepted Buddhism and he patronized Buddhism, that does not mean that he did not have a standing army. That does not mean that punishments are not there. Punishments are definitely there. So for example, ये जो Dhamma's moral teachings हैं, there are instances where people who did not follow. So to enforce that, Ashoka also gives punishment to these people, which is paradoxical in nature, right? कि आप नॉन वायलेंस को प्रमोट करने के लिए वायलेंस कर रहे हो, बहुत खुद में एक पैराडॉक्स है. बट ऐसा नहीं है कि सो दिस एंटायर बिलीफ दैट समहाउ बुद्धिज्म, acceptance of Buddhism led to decline of Mauryan Empire because empire was not strong. That is simply not true. Because had it been true, then what about other empires? They also disintegrated. So it's very simple. The empire was too huge to maintain without a proper system in place. तो हम ancient medieval time में हमको एक simple सा theme दिखेगा. That a great empire often is because of a great leader. See, but fundamental problem with human psychic is that we put so much trust and faith in leaders. And we need to understand that leaders are also human beings. They can commit mistakes, first. Second, even if there is a great leader, benevolent leader, he's not going to stay there for very long. He will be replaced by his successors. And his successors may not be that able as he was. Right? So rather than focusing on leaders, we always need to focus on institutions, on systems, on practices, rules and regulations. They are more important. An individual is of course very important. Without an individual, an institution does not mean anything. But जो institutional practices हैं, they are much more important. कि जो systems हैं. So for example, Mauryan Empire could have decentralized things at larger scale, taxation system which everything is happening at central level. If सब कुछ ये ऐसा नहीं होता. So again we can always go back to history and we can debate about what if. उसको बोलते हैं ना counterfactual analysis. Counter की ये fact अगर नहीं हुआ होता, अगर ये नहीं हुआ होता, कुछ और होता, फिर then what would have happened? It's a very difficult thing to do, but it's a very interesting exercise to think that what if this was not there? What if Mauryan Empire continued for more long? Right? But anyways, this is a myth that acceptance of Buddhism led to the decline of Mauryan Empire. That is not true. In later times you find out, so of course there is, one thing is of course there, that there is a reaction, Brahmanical reaction against influence of Buddhism. So when Ashoka and his successors, they did not turn out to be as great as Ashoka was. He was able to maintain this very large empire. But his successors could not. And gradually, over the years, Mauryan Empire again gets limited to Magad, जो Bihar region है. And finally, Bihar, Bengal, as well as some parts of Odisha, some parts of UP. It gets limited to this part only. And finally, last ruler of Magad, Mauryan Empire, is Brihadrath, who is killed by his own minister, who is a Brahmin. His name is Pushyamitra Shunga. And he establishes Shunga dynasty. But he is also not able to continue for very long. Shungs are also killed. For example, Pushyamitra Shunga, his son is Agnimitra. His sons, they also turn out to be very weak competents. And they are also replaced by Kanva. So a new dynasty comes into existence called Kanvas. Kanvas also are not able to rule for very long. They are also replaced by now a more powerful dynasty, but not in Magad, by a dynasty which ruled Deccan area, which are Satvahanas. So Satvahanas came into existence. This is one theme. That what are happening in Magad and later rulers of Magad. Another theme is that because, अभी southern history पे मैं आया नहीं हुआ. I will come to that in next class. I don't think I will be able to do that in today's class. In next class we will exclusively talk about what is happening in South India. Another theme is that while Magad has been disintegrated, Magad is now limited to a very small territory. Another theme is that many other tribes in Central Asia, in China, they have emerged very powerful. Many tribes, not one, many tribes. These tribes, very similar to what was happening in India a few hundreds years ago at the time of early Vedic or post-Vedic phase. These tribes with more knowledge about iron, horses, the quality of horses are really good. They have in fact become much, much more powerful. They can cause so much destruction that even an empire will be annihilated. That has happened, by the way. For example, the mightiest empire, the Roman Empire हम बोलते हैं. Roman Empire was one of the mightiest empire. It was a successor of Greek Empire. जैसे Mauryas, Guptas कैसे हैं? हम Mauryas पढ़ते हैं फिर Guptas पढ़ते हैं. Very powerful empire. तो उसी का एक corollary समझ लो that there was a Greek Empire, contemporary of Magads, and later when Greeks also declined, Roman Empire comes into existence. But entire Roman Empire disintegrated because of a tribal invasion which are called Huns. Huns were so powerful that Romans lost. The entire civilization disintegrated. So these tribes are not simple tribes. They are very powerful tribes. They have powerful weapons. They have very powerful horses. And many such tribes start attacking India, and there is only one reason where India is open to such attacks. That is our northwest frontier. This is a constant theme. Even in medieval history you will find that when Islamic invasion of India occurs, that also occurs from the northwest frontier. So Greeks already have attacked India. There is some region which is being ruled by Indo-Greeks. So Indo-Greeks are the first one who attacked. When Mauryan Empire finally disintegrated, now I am coming to, अभी तक हम before Christ era की बात कर रहे थे. Now I am coming to AD. So around this time, Indo-Greek rulers again emerged more powerful in the northwest frontier region of Pakistan and India, belonging to Punjab region and some regions of Afghanistan also. So new Indo-Greek rulers emerge in this area. The most famous name, एक नाम यहाँ पे आपको बस याद रखना है, that is Meander. There are many names, but we do not have to bother about lot of names here. One very important Indo-Greek ruler is Meander, वो हमको याद रखना है. Why? Because the conversation of Meander and one of the Buddhist monks, his name was Nagasena, it is part of a textbook called Milind Panho. So Milind Panho, where Meander asks a series of questions from Nagsena, and Nagsena answers all of these questions, and Meander realizes that his this quest for more and more territories, it is meaningless, and he accepts Buddhism and leaves non-violence. So this is again part of this entire conversation, is part of Milind Panho. So Meander is a very important name. Then when Indo-Greeks decline, another tribe called Scythians, which are also called Shakas. So Shakas attack India. They also, now they have a larger territory than Indo-Greeks. Even Shakas decline. They are, again India is attacked by another tribe which originated in Iran, which are Parthians. And they also decline, and another tribe comes into existence. This tribe now actually emerged in China. Yuchi tribe, which they call themselves Kushanas. And Kushanas also come to India. So, ye next theme hai, that many invasions, but here is a common theme across all these invasions. Gradually, all these kings and people who came as part with these kings, they gradually accepted the prevalent Indian culture and prevalent Indian religion. All of them became Indianicized, if I can use that word. So many of these kings accepted either Buddhism or Hinduism. They became either Hindu rulers or Buddhist rulers. So they became a larger part of entire Indian subcontinent. They were not able to maintain their original identity wherever they came from, because these are tribes, they do not have any established religion, they do not have any established culture. So when they come in contact with Indian subcontinent, which is already a prospering civilization, a cultured civilization, they gradually start adopting tenets of Hinduism, tenets of Buddhism, and they in true sense become Indians. So for example, this is also a very interesting thing, that if we do genetic analysis, I'm very sure that some genetic marker will also be common to some tribes which are found in, say, for example, Xinjiang region or in Central Asian region, different from Aryan tribe. Right? So, who are we? That is in first class I did ask this question. Who are we as a people? So, we are not only Harappans and Aryans, but also many other invaders, many other people who came to India. Right? And सबसे पहले Greeks आए, Shakas आए, फिर Parthians आए, finally Kushans आए. Okay? So, this is again another theme. But the most powerful kingdom here emerged is Satavahanas, and when Satavahanas reaches its zenith, then another theme emerges, that is Magad again becomes more powerful. And a new empire comes into existence, which is Gupta Empire. So Satavahanas actually ruled for quite long. Agar aap dekho to Mauryas disintegrated, Satavahanas emerged in 1st AD, around 1st century. And Guptas emerges into 3rd century. So another empire, same again Magad becomes very powerful under Chandragupta I. Okay? There is another name which is very interesting. We do not know who this person was. When Shakas came from outside, so an Indian ruler who called himself Vikramaditya, he defended Ujjain from Shakas. So because of this, Vikramaditya name becomes very popular. And Vikramaditya becomes sort of title that any king who achieved greatness in war, he conferred this title of Vikramaditya on himself. For example, the grandson of Chandragupta I, not Maurya, Chandragupta of Gupta Empire. His name is, he is also known as Chandragupta II, but he takes the title of Vikramaditya. And he is not just one Vikramaditya, there are many Vikramaदित्य. बहुत सारे kings, they took this title of Vikramaditya. So this is the next two themes. First is what happens to Mauryan Empire once, what happens to Magad once Mauryans decline, and at the same time what is happening in the northwest frontier. Because we have lot of accounts, we have lot of information about these things. But before I come to this invasion, ये जो rock edicts हैं, I feel like if I, आप इसमें कुछ है नहीं. I will get a PDF uploaded, but these are important rock edicts. Few of them, if you want to write it down, आप लिख सकते हो. There are total 33 inscriptions. Total 33 inscriptions. Divided mainly into following categories. Major rock edicts. Divided mainly into following categories: minor rock edicts, major pillar edicts, minor pillar edicts, एक और कैटेगरी है बहुत बार हम ऐड करते हैं, which are called separate rock edicts. So I'm only going to make you write major rock edicts and some other important edicts of minor, both pillar and major pillar edicts. There are 14 major rock edicts, write down. There are 14 major rock edicts. Very quickly, so major rock edict 1 है. It prohibits animal slaughter. एक एक लाइन में लिखते रहो, just in one line. Major rock edict 1 prohibits animal slaughter. Major rock edict 2 Major rock edict 1 prohibits animal slaughter. Animal sacrifices, जो festivities में animal sacrifices होते थे, they were prohibited. Major rock edict 2. Now this is very interesting, major rock edict 2, because it mentions southern kingdoms. It mentions Pandyas. So आप लिख सकते हो, it mentions southern kingdoms. Southern kingdoms. Rock edict 3. Generosity to Brahmins. It mentions generosity to Brahmins. So this basically tells this tolerance of Ashoka. बस एक लाइन में आप लिख लो. It mentions generosity to Brahmins. Four. Dhamma Ghosh over Bheri Ghosh. Remember, in last class I talked about Dhamma Ghosh over cultural conquest. Dhamma Ghosh over Bheri Ghosh. Five. That is correct actually. So I often do this mistake. It's actually, there is no double D. I have been doing this mistake for very long now. Thank you. 5, it talks about rights of slaves. Rights of slaves. 6, king's desire to know about his people. King's desire to know about his people. King's desire to know about his people. 7. Tolerance towards all religions. Tolerance towards all religions. Tolerance towards all religion. 8. Ashoka's first visit to Bodh Gaya. Ashoka's first visit to Bodh Gaya. Bodh Gaya is where Buddha attained knowledge. Ashoka's first visit to Bodh Gaya. 9. It condemns popular ceremonies. It condemns popular ceremonies. Popular ceremonies. 10th, disapproves the desire for fame and glory. Disapproves the desire for fame and glory. Disapproves the desire for fame and glory. 11th, respect for elders. Respect for elders. And concern for slaves and servant. And concern for slaves and servant. Twelve. It mentions Mahamatas. It mentions Mahamatas. Mahamatas in charge of women's welfare. In charge of women welfare. 13. It mentions victory over Kalinga. It mentions victory over Kalinga. It also mentions Pandyas, Cholas. Pandyas, Cholas, as well as foreign kingdoms. Foreign kingdoms. जैसे Syria mentioned, Egypt mentioned, don't need to write it. Syria, Egypt, Greece, all these kingdoms are mentioned as part of 13. And last, 14th, purpose of rock edicts. So 14th mentions the purpose of rock edicts. So Because Vishal is asking, we have to remember their location. Yes, we do have to remember their location. Where all the places where major rock edicts have been found, we do have to remember. अब देखो यहाँ पे कुछ कुछ themes आपको मिल गए होंगे. जैसे you see edict 2nd and 13, they talk about southern kingdoms. Slaves, welfare of slaves, that is also being talked about in few edicts. Tolerance towards religion, जैसे ब्राह्मण्स को पैट्रोनाज करना है, टॉलरेंस टुवर्ड्स रिलीजन, दिस इज, ये कुछ कुछ थीम्स में याद रखो. बहुत सारी चीजें ऐसे हैं जो बहुत जनरल हैं, बट जो स्पेसिफिक है वी नीड टू नो देम. देयर आर मेनी अदर थिंग्स व्हिच यू नीड टू नो. फॉर एग्जांपल, देयर इज अ पिलर इंस्क्रिप्शन कॉल्ड रुमन्यदेही वेयर अशोका विजिट्स बुद्धा's बर्थ प्लेस. दिस इज मेंशन्ड. सो बहुत सारे ऐसे फैक्ट्स हैं जो आपको रखना पड़ेगा. सो आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू मेक यू राइट ऑल द 33, बट फ्यू इंपॉर्टेंट एडिक्ट अपार्ट फ्रॉम मेजर रॉक एडिक्ट्स, few other edicts which you should know, just write down. For example, Allahabad edict. Allahabad edict. आप heading दे देना few other important edicts. I will get details of all rock minor edicts, major pillar edicts, sub in a PDF. But few things which you should know is Allahabad edict, which is very famously also known as Allahabad inscription. इसमें एक लाइन लिख लेना. Ashoka asks the members of Sangh to refrain from causing division, in the ranks, to refrain from causing division in the ranks. Mayank is asking, do we have to learn the complete PDF? I don't know how to answer that question. So the best thing is that rather than mugging it up in one go, आप हर महीने में एक बार जाके देख लेना. Just do that and try to remember things again thematically. As for example, two themes I already told you. जैसे welfare of slaves, that is a very very important aspect. That a king is talking about welfare of slaves. Or southern kingdoms, ये as a theme, this is very important. अच्छा, why I mentioned Allahabad inscription? Because Allahabad inscription जो है वहाँ पे खाली अशोकन inscription नहीं है, वहाँ पे समुद्रगुप्त का inscription है, और वहाँ पे जहांगीर also writes few things. So आप एक लिख सकते हो, Samudragupta's inscription is also found on this edict. Samudragupta's inscription is also found on this edict. Jahangir shifted it to the fort at Allahabad. रुमन्यदेही inscription, and there is, इसे में लिखना, रुमन्यदेही inscription. It mentions, एक लाइन में, just write down in one line, it mentions the village of Lumbini to be exempted from tax. To be exempted from tax. Here is the thing, there is a confirmation bias, there is a bias here. Few, ये जो मैंने लिखा है आपको यूपीएससी ने पास में पूछ रखा है, but we never, I cannot guarantee that they will ask something new, right? So the nature of question from this, just for example, if you go and see the last year question paper, there is a description in one paragraph, I think 2020, not last year, in 2020, there is a description given in one paragraph, and in this description, ये पूछा हुआ है कि किसका है, who is the king behind this description, and just by reading the paragraph it will make lot of sense that it is a description given by Ashoka himself, right? So the questions can be as easy as this also, but questions can also be, for example, last to last year, 2 साल से लगातार अशोका पे पूछा था. There was a very difficult question, I'm forgetting it. It gives a very specific description that, and कहाँ पे ये मिला है, I am forgetting the exact question, I will show you in the next class. So questions can be very difficult also. Now how to attempt, जैसे for example ये बहुत बार बहुत सारे लोगों को लगता है कि ऐसे questions का क्या करें, तो देखो ऐसे questions को फिर attempt नहीं करना होता है, बहुत simple सी चीज़ है. Whatever you are going to study in this class or whatever more information you will accumulate from studying R.S. Sharma, but there are hundreds of books written on ancient India. There are hundreds of websites, government websites, PDFs, research papers हमेशा आते रहते हैं about new discoveries with respect to ancient India. UPSC can pick a question from anywhere, ऐसा कोई तो है नहीं कि कोई specific source है. For our purpose we use one particular source, right? And always remember, input-output game है. There will be 4 to 5 questions. Out of this 4 to 5 questions, I want you to at least solve 3 questions. अगर 5 क्वेश्चन है तो उसमें 3 आने चाहिए. अगर 2 नहीं आता है, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. We do not have to bother about कि ये 2 क्वेश्चन के लिए मैं क्या पढ़ लूं मैं. पूरा एक बुक पढ़ रहे हैं, उससे भी क्वेश्चन नहीं आया. So don't do that. Just focus on R.S. Sharma. R.S. Sharma authoritative textbook है, उसको बस हमको यूज करना है. We do not have to focus on other books. And we also do not have to bother about, say for example, 1 or 2 questions which we have no clue about. Because if you have no clue and if you feel that I have done some basic preparation, my preparation is not that bad, then other students will face the same problem. Now if you try to attempt these questions, then the chances of getting it wrong is much higher. जहाँ पे आप कुछ भी, जैसे तो एंशिएंट हिस्ट्री का क्वेश्चन है ना, यहाँ पे कोई लॉजिक तो है नहीं, कोई एनालिसिस तो है नहीं, ज्योग्राफी का क्वेश्चन तो नहीं है, साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी का क्वेश्चन तो है नहीं जहाँ पे थोड़ा सा हम लॉजिक लगा सकते हैं. यहाँ पे कोई लॉजिक नहीं है. If you know the fact, then you know the fact. If you do not know the fact, forget this question, move ahead. So this is a very important part of your strategy. I will repeat. First class में ही मैंने बोला था आपको कि no matter how many tests you have attempted, in examination you'll clearly know 40 to 45 questions. जहाँ पे आपको पता है 40 to 45. In other questions there will always be some element of doubt. Some element of doubt. I'm not saying that it will be a huge amount of doubt. Some element of doubt. In few questions you will have no clue. And you also realize that there is no way we can attempt this question without बिल्कुल तुक्का ही है वो. तो ऐसे क्वेश्चंस को नहीं अटेम्प्ट करना है. बहुत बार ऐसे होता है कि किसी ने आपको बोल दिया, किसी दोस्त ने, कि मैंने तुक्का मारा था मेरा तो सही हो गया, या आपने भी कभी तुक्का मारा था सही हो गया. बट if you do analysis on a larger scale, you will realize that overall you will go into negative. We need to understand, जैसे जो concept of probability वो बहुत powerful concept है. What does probability tell you? जैसे for example, when I toss a coin, then if I toss it coin, say for example 10 times, there is a chance that I will get head 7 to 8 times. Only when I toss it, say for example 50, 100 times, the probability of getting either head or tail will converge towards 1/2. ये तो क्लियर है ना सबको? इट विल बिकम 1/2. सो बिगर द सैंपल साइज, जो प्रोबेबिलिटी, वॉट एवर प्रोबेबिलिटी वी असाइन, your answer will also converge towards that answer, converge towards that. Now in UPSC examination, if you do not have any clue, so the chances of getting it right is 25%, right? And there is a 75% chance that you will get it wrong. So in every 4 question you will get 1 wrong at least. But because there will be 10 questions like this, there is a very good chance that you will get rather. So for example, as per probability, out of 10, 3 आपके कम से कम सही हो जाने चाहिए. हो सकता है 10 गलत हो जाए. But you will, at the same time, you will find people जो बोलेंगे 10 उन्होंने ऐसे तुक्का लगाया, 6 सही हो गए. There will always be people like that. But that is a survivorship bias. जो statistics है उसमें एक term होता है survivorship bias, that we try to pick these optimistic things. Right? Lot of people, they have also done the same thing. They have got it wrong, but एक बंदा जो आके और अपना शेखी बगाड़ेगा कि मेरे तो सारे सही हो गए, मैंने तुक्का मारा था, मेरा तो प्रीलिम्स हो गया. एक इंसान हमेशा मिलेगा आपको ऐसे, बट वो आपका नहीं होना चाहिए. He is not the person you have to. So simple सी चीज है, if you do not know a question, if you have no clue, don't attempt it. So ideally try to attempt about 90 questions. But definitely not 100 questions, because कोई भी नहीं है जिसको 100 के 100 आता है, right? So 90 to 95. So I think anything from 85 to 95 is a good attempt. So पूरा जो prelims में game आपका ये हो जाता है, that which are the questions you have to choose and which are the questions you have to leave. You have to optimize your score. So in this optimization, if you have to leave 1 or 2 question of ancient history where you have no clue, it's totally fine. इसमें उतना परेशान होने की जरूरत नहीं है. हाँ जी. No. So हाँ, that's a good question. So it's only true for ये जो special inscriptions हैं. So जो special inscriptions हैं, they are known as one particular name, and we have named them. But जो major inscriptions हैं, they are called the same thing, major rock edict, even if it is found, say for example, at one place or another place. So we do find more than one rock edicts at one place, right? This is also very important to remember. ये जो major rock edicts मैंने 14 लिखाए हैं, they are not found at 14 distinct places. They are found at few places, and at one place you will find more than one rock edicts. Okay, so ये जो आपका question है, that ये जो special name है, this is only true for few inscriptions. जैसे मैंने आपको रुक्मिणी inscription बताया और इलाहाबाद inscription बताया. This is only true for few inscriptions. In other cases, this I cannot say that. Which name? Allahabad inscription is totally fine. अच्छा, okay. अच्छा, मैंने तो ये सोचा नहीं था इस तरीके से. तो अब बहुत सारे cities rename हो रहे हैं. तो I really don't know how to answer that question. आप इलाहाबाद इंस्क्रिप्शन आराम से यूज कर सकते हो. डू नॉट वरी अबाउट कि यहाँ प्रयागराज नहीं लिखेंगे तो कहीं नंबर तो नहीं कट जाए. योगी जी कॉपी नहीं चेक कर रहे हैं. तो आई थिंक अ पर्सन हु इज वेल एजुकेटेड, जिसको ये नामकरण से उतना ज्यादा फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, एटलीस्ट ऐसे छोटी चीजों से, तो फिर मैं एज्यूम करूंगा कि इलाहाबाद लिखने पे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगा. एनीवेज, राइट, गिव दिस हेडिंग मौर्यन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. हाँ जी. So he is asking that why do we use Ashoka the Great for Ashoka while it is actually Chandragupta Maurya who consolidated the empire, right? So the reason is Ashoka का जो PR game था बहुत strong था. But anyways, the reason we do that, because more than political conquest, there are very few instances where a king wants to patronize or wants to respect all religions. There are very few cases like that. जैसे हर king का गोल क्या है कि पावर को कैसे कंसोलिडेट करे, कैसे अपने अथॉरिटी को मेंटेन करे, और हमेशा अथॉरिटी मेंटेन करने के लिए एक जो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट टूल रहा है वो रिलीजन रहा है. यूज रिलीजन एज अ टूल टू मोबिलाइज पीपल along with your ideology. That has always been a very powerful tool. So any king, any emperor who has gone outside this realm of thinking, where he has respected all religions, patronized all, even if it is patronizing just one religion, but at least he is respecting all religious ideas, right? And definitely he is not indulging himself into some sort of warfare. And last but not the least, leave religion, his main focus becomes not political conquest, but welfare of people, welfare of all section of people. That king can be considered great. So Ashoka was a great king because as per inscriptions, there is it is very clear that he was very much interested in welfare of people. Same is also true for Akbar, by the way. Why Akbar is considered as a great king? Right? That is primarily the reason he is considered as a great king. Akbar emerged as a great king in a time where every ruler, every other, so entire Delhi Sultanate except one or two names, all rulers of Delhi Sultanate, they are despotic, they are religious zealots, but Akbar is not. So that's why he is considered as a great king. So ये हमेशा एक theme रहेगा कि any king who does that, कि जिसका main focus, despite having such a large territory, main focus becomes welfare of people. In ancient times, medieval times, जहाँ पे main focus is consolidating more and more power, more and more wealth for yourself, then that king can be considered as a great king. ठीक है? Give okay, ठीक है. So clearly he was not. So he is asking that was he able to convey whatever he wanted to convey to the masses. So just having inscriptions, of course, will not convey your messages. So that's why I am saying that clearly he did not, because Buddhism declined, right? And later rulers of Mauryans, Brihadratha, he was killed by a Brahman ruler, right? So he tried to, he definitely tried to, but he did not. We can say that in longer run, of course, he did not succeed. Okay. Give the heading Mauryan administration. Mauryan administration. तो देखो बहुत ही powerful kingdom है. They have a very large standing army, right? So first of all to feed such a large standing army and to pay salaries, and not only army, but because this is such a huge administration, we have many officials. So to pay just salaries to all the officials and everyone who is part of army, you have to have regular taxation. So ये administration में जो main features हैं, how things, so administration में सबसे पहले तो king है. It's a, I will not use the word despotic regime, but I will use a word that king is the supreme power. He is all legislative, judicial, executive power, जो final power है, that lies in the hand of king. But at the same time, king is, he gets his suggestions from a council of minister. So few important terms which you should know here. आप लिख सकते हो यहाँ पे. The details of Mauryan administration. The details of Mauryan administration can be found from Arthashastra. Can be found from Arthashastra. Write down in bullet points. The king was fountainhead of all powers. Fountainhead, every power came from him. Fountainhead of all powers. He was assisted by a council of ministers. He was assisted by a council of ministers He was assisted by a council of ministers but took final decisions by himself. Mauryan kings had a well-established intelligence agencies with spies and reporters collecting secrets with spies and reporters collecting secrets and informing the king of public opinion. The special reporters of the king were called Pati Devaks. And Pulisani. Pati Devaks and Pulisani. The Arthashastra clearly mentioned that king always has to know what his subject matters. What are they thinking about the king? So that if there are grievances, rather than letting those grievances become bigger and bigger, those grievances can be resolved as soon as possible. Write down next point, next bullet point. All high officials were called Amatya. All high officials were called Amatya. Who were executive heads of departments. Who were executive heads of department. For example, Mantri, Purohit, Senapati, Yuvraj was a crown prince, basically. Yuvraj. So Yuvraj was also given lot of important responsibilities. Basically, it's like a training ground. You are getting trained to become king. Write down the next bullet point. The taxation was efficient. About 1/6 of agriculture produce was given as tax to the king. Arthashastra also mentions various types of taxes on peasants, artisans and traders. Also mentions various types of taxes on peasants, artisans and traders. The highest tax officer was called Samharth. The highest officer in charge of tax assessment, the highest officer in charge of tax assessment was called Samharth. ये जो स्पेशल वर्ड्स होते हैं ना, जैसे समहर्थ, इसको ना हमेशा हाईलाइट कर लिया करना. Highest officer in charge of tax assessment was called Samharth. Write down the next bullet point. The Magad Empire was divided into four territories. And later Ashoka added Kaling as fifth territory. Kaling at fifth territory. तो फर्स्ट जो है वो उत्तर पथ है. The first territory was called उत्तर पथ. उत्तर पथ. दक्षिण पथ. उत्तर पथ, दक्षिण पथ. ईस्टर्न इंडिया. ईस्टर्न इंडिया. तो ईस्टर्न इंडिया जो है दैट इज नोन विथ फॉर इज कैपिटल. अभी कैपिटल भी हम लिखेंगे अवंती रथ. सेंट्रल इंडिया जो डेक्कन रीजन है. एंड कलिंग उत्तर पथ का जो कैपिटल है दैट इज तक्षशिला. द कैपिटल इज तक्षशिला. राइट नाउ इट इज इन पाकिस्तान. जो दक्षिण पथ का कैपिटल है वो सुवर्णगिरी. Again in Deccan region, because you need to remember that Ashokan Empire also did not include Cholas, Cheras and Pandyas. So they did include the Deccan region, not only the upper Deccan but also the lower Deccan region. Eastern India, Tosali, the capital is Tosali. Avantirath, the capital is Ujjain. And Kaling, the capital is Dhauli. Write down the next bullet point. The municipal administration of Patliputra. The municipal administration of Patliputra municipal administration was Patliputra was very efficient, which constituted of six committees, all committees had 5 members. All committees had 5 members. These committees looked after various aspects such as industry, special care of foreigners, birth and death registration, trade, commerce and market regulation, as well as tax collection. Right on next bullet point. The army was governed by six different boards, Write down again in sub bullet point. The board of admiralty, admirals jo the, this was charge of navy. Again all board had 5 members. Board of admiralty, which एक लाइन में लिख लेना. It was in charge of navy, although navy was not very powerful. This is very important. Navy is not very powerful, but it is there. In charge of navy, the board of infantry, cavalry, board of cavalry, horses, कुछ देखेगा. The board of cavalry, war chariots, board of cavalry, board of war chariots, war elephants, and the board of transport and supervision of equipment. The board of transport and supervision of equipment. And एक last point लिख लेना. Justice, a judicial administration. Two types of courts existed. Two types of court existed. Dharmastithya Dharmastithya for civil matters, and Kantak Shodhans for criminal matter. Judges were called Dharmastha. और महामता, धर्मस्थ और महामता. Mahamata. Kautilya mentions 4 sources of law. धर्म, चरितम is customs basically. Dharm, charitam, vyavahar, conduct, vyavahar, and Raja Shashana and Raj Shashana. Raj Shashana, which is royal proclamations. King has come up with a new law. So जो धर्म है, they will of course most of the things will come from Dharm Sutras. Charitam, that is customs. What is the prevailing custom? जो व्यवहार है, that is the character. And finally, Raj Shashana, these are royal proclamations. King has come up with its own law. एक last paragraph में लिख लेना. The Mauryan Empire declined. The Mauryan Empire declined after death of Ashoka. In 232 BC. The last Mauryan king Brihadarath was assassinated by his general Pushyamitra Shung. In about 185 BC. So this is the end of Mauryan dynasty and a new dynasty. But by the way, this new dynasty is not ruling the entire India. It is ruling only part of Magad and some region in the vicinity. Many other new kings have emerged in different part of the country. ठीक है? So एक next heading दे दो, शुंग dynasty. हाँ जी. रॉयल फैमिली, someone who belong to royal family. राजा के छोटे भाई का भी बेटा हो सकता है. जो रॉयल फैमिली का हो. ही इज आस्किंग दैट युवराज जो टर्म है उसका क्या मीनिंग है. सो समवन हु इज फ्रॉम रॉयल फैमिली हिमसेल्फ. So Yuvraj does not have to be exactly the son or elder son of Raja. It can be anyone in the royal family. So they were given some very important assignments. So in a way to train them that because they are going to be, one of them are going to be the future king. Okay. Shung dynasty. इसमें ज्यादा कुछ है नहीं. By the way, Shung dynasty से पुष्यमित्र शुंग के बारे में because he was a Brahmin. There is a theory that he destroyed lot of stupas, जो Buddhist stupas हैं. But we do not have again enough evidence for that. कि पुष्यमित्र शुंग, even though he did assassinate Brihadrath, who is his king, but a large scale destruction of stupas to destroy Buddhism from India. That is a theory, but we do not have conclusive evidence to support that theory. एक लाइन में आप लिख सकते हो. Shung dynasty, write down in bullet points. The first king of Shung dynasty was Pushyamitra Shung. Pushyamitra Shung, a Brahman. Pushyamitra Shung, a Brahman. Brahman. So there are very few things you need to know about Pushyamitra Shung. जैसे एक जो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज जो हमको जानना है वो है कि he patronized Patanjali. So Panini already had compiled Sanskrit grammar, which is known as Ashtadhyayi, and a commentary on Ashtadhyayi, and of course a further compilation of Sanskrit grammar was done by Patanjali. He wrote Mahabhashya. So Patanjali was contemporary to Pushyamitra Shung. This is something which you should know. तो एक लाइन में आप लिख सकते हो. He patronized the Sanskrit. He patronized Patanjali. He patronized Patanjali. A scholar of Sanskrit grammar. A scholar of Sanskrit grammar. He died in 151 BC. He died in 151 BC. He died in 151 BC and was succeeded by his son Agnimitra. Was succeeded by his son Agnimitra. Was succeeded by his son Agnimitra, who is the main protagonist, of Kalidasa's poem, Malvika Agnimitram. मालविका अग्निमित्रम. तो मैंने दोनों अलग अलग इसलिए लिखा है कि क्लियर हो, वैसे दो ए यहां पे नहीं होंगे. सो एक्चुअली में इट इज जस्ट वन ए. आई हैव जस्ट डिवाइडेड इट. मालविका इज अ courtesan, शी इज अ डांसर. अग्निमित्र इज द सन ऑफ पुष्यमित्र शुंग. Their love affair is described in this poem, written as a poetry. Very famous work of Kalidasa. विशाल is saying sir आप A and O सही से लिखें. Thanks विशाल. मैं अपने मॉम को जाके बोलता हूँ उन्होंने क्यों नहीं सिखाया मुझे. Write down. Shungs did not rule for long. Shungs did not rule for long. And very soon, a new dynasty called Kanva dynasty was founded by Vasudeva Kanva. Vasudeva Kanva. The Kanu dynasty had 4 kings. The Kanu dynasty had 4 kings. The Kanu dynasty had 4 kings. The last king was defeated by Satavahanas. The last king was defeated by Satavahanas. Satavahanas, which for time being ended the Magadhan supremacy. Ended the Magadhan supremacy. Ended the Magadhan supremacy. So before I jump to Satavahanas, one very important theme is these invasions from northwest frontier. But let's take a break here. Abhishek is asking Purva Prant and Paschim Prant are also territory of. So ये जो हमने उत्तर पद दक्षिण पद देखा था, उसके बाद जो हमने ईस्टर्न इंडिया जो लिखा था with capital at Tosali, so that is actually what eastern Prant is. And जो हमने अवंती देखा, that is what western Prant is, if you have to. So rather than that, mainly focus on capital. 4 territories. Remember that there are 4 provinces, sorry, not territories, 4 provinces, and a 5th province was added by Ashoka, that is Kaling. Okay, let me show you the map of these invasions, Greek, Shakas, Parthians and Kushans. I'm sorry, I have not. So anyways, give the heading invasion of India. Invasion of India. एक invasion हमने already discuss कर रखा है, Persian invasion, Darius, and then Alexander. Now this is the second set of continuous invasions. After every few decades, a new tribe. So Indo-Greeks are not as such a tribal community. Indo-Greek civilization was again a very prospering civilization. However, by the way, एक बहुत interesting चीज़, I was just thinking about it. This is our 4th class. In the last 3 classes, just think about how much we have covered. And we just have to appreciate that how civilization developed. For example, we started our discussion in prehistory. I'm not interested in that. We talked about Indus Valley about 2500 BC. करीब 4500 or 5000 years before current times. And then for next few hundred years, there is a very mature civilization, a prospering civilization, and that declines. And after that, things again start from very basic. A new tribe comes, those tribes consolidate their region. पहले तो region भी refined नहीं है. जो tribe आया है, जो Indo-Aryans थे, when they came, they did not settle into a definite territory. That happens in later Vedic phases. When next set of Vedas, जो early Vedic phase है, that is associated with Rig Veda. Late Vedic phase is associated with other three Vedas, Samved, Yajur Veda, Tharyo Veda. So when these next three Vedas are written, this is the time when people have started settling themselves. More agriculture surplus, more population explosion. More population explosion means going into more territories. So they started occupying more territories, and a territorial concept that this region belongs to one particular tribe, that becomes strengthened. But we need to appreciate a simple thing. जब tribes आए होंगे, I don't think एक tribal village जो एक जन है, it will have more than 100-150 members. But suddenly now we are talking about lakhs of people who are occupying the entire Indian subcontinent region. Not suddenly. Because we have studied in just 2-3 classes, so we feel that it has occurred suddenly. But it actually, you have to appreciate that it has occurred in hundreds of years. जैसे अभी हम सोचते हैं कि आज से 20 साल पहले इमेजिन करो हमारा लाइफ वर्सेस राइट नाउ, हाउ मच हैज चेंज्ड इन जस्ट 20 साल. तो फिर भी ज्यादा है. लास्ट 5 years हाउ मच हैज चेंज्ड. If I just have to imagine that in last 5 years, for example, think about how mobile is so integral part of our life, right? That's a very simple change which has occurred in last 5 years. It was not there before. It has occurred in last 5 years. So right now things are changing at much more rapid pace. And here we are talking about 100 year, 200, 300, 400, 500 year duration. तो ये जो changes हैं, as I told you, lot of, ये मैंने first second class में भी बोला था आपको, a lot of these changes हम इसको बड़े simplistic terms में analyze करते हैं. There are many nuances which we miss, mainly because of two reasons. First, at many cases we do not have sufficient information, and second, just to simplify our analysis, because we are not doing here in this, I am talking about these classes, we are not here to do हमको history में कोई ऐसे PhD वगैरह तो नहीं करना. We have to have a good understanding of what is happening. So we do not focus on lot of nuances. But history is about nuances. In fact, जैसे for example, हमेशा एक और चीज होता है, हमारा एक human psyche होता है कि we often think about things in binary terms, that either someone is good or someone is bad, it is 0 or 1, but that is not how real world works. You'll find that same person, he was a hero and then he also became a villain in later part of his life, or he was a villain or he became a hero. For example, Zelensky was a stand-up comedian and now he is celebrated as a hero, right? Ukraine, I'm talking about Russian-Ukraine crisis. So you never know. Maybe perhaps when Zelensky again, because he has authoritarian tendencies, by the way, just because Putin, there is a bigger bully here. Zelensky himself, just ये भी nuance है. If you read more about him, you will realize that he also has authoritarian tendencies. He also does not like those news channels which criticize him. He has done these things, but now because there is a bigger bully, he is a hero. Let's say, for example, when I think there is a very good chance that Putin days are over in next few years, because all the oligarchs he has, they will not like him. ये हमेशा होता है कि जो oligarchs जो तुमने बना रखे हैं, we all often think that there is one power of authority. There is, but one person cannot rule over a much larger territory without the help of many elites, right? So anyways, I'm not trying to predict here, but if history tells us anything, then it is that his days are also over. Few years, maybe not more than that. Maybe military, maybe some other opposition leader, or maybe his own party members, they will protest against him. Because right now Russia has become a villain, right? So things देखो कितनी जल्दी चेंज. अभी एक वीक पहले ऐसे था कि Russia was saying that they are now withdrawing their troops, and suddenly there is also a time that we may also say that a much larger scale war can also occur. जैसे war start करना हमेशा आसान है, but end करना फिर आपके बस में नहीं है. It's a very simple thing to understand, that whenever you start a war, that is very easy. But ending the war, that is beyond your control. And World War I is a very good example. Nobody was thinking that this war will go on for 4 years, but it did happen for 4 years. So history is it does include a lot of nuances. Every personality, every person which we study, he is not white or black. He has many shades of grey. And we often neglect those shades because we do not have first enough information. So we cannot pass a judgment without information. And second also, because we have to do our analysis as simple as possible. But in last few classes, we have covered a much larger period of human history. So anyways, invasion of India. इसमें सबसे पहला जो है, अगर आपको chronology में देखना है, so Indo-Greeks, they came the first. Then Sakas, Parthians, and Kushanas. So this is the simple chronology which you need to know. Again, we do not have to remember a lot of names. Let me show you, by the way, the map of all these 4 kingdoms. Can you ask someone to bring my charger, laptop charger? Bactria is a region. Rashti is asking Bactrians and Parthians. Bactria is a region. Parthian is a community. So yes, Parthians at one point of time did occupy a region around Bactria. Bactria right now is in Afghanistan and Central Asia, जो part है वहाँ पे Bactria है. So Parthians at one point of time definitely occupied this region. Okay, so this map here represents the Indo-Greek kingdom. अब जो Indo-Greek impact है, so Indo-Greek kingdom में there are very few things which you need to know. Meander I already told you. You should also know that Indo-Greeks are the first rulers who introduced gold coins in India. इससे पहले gold coins नहीं थे. For example, जो Mauryans हैं, Mauryans they definitely used silver coins, copper coins, but they did not use gold coins. So Indo-Greek rulers are the first one who introduced gold coins. However, gold coins on a much larger scale became popular during Kushanas. तो बहुत बार कुछ टेक्स्ट बुक में ऐसे लिखा होता है that Kushanas are the first one, but that is not actually correct. They are the first one who used gold coins on a much larger scale. For example, have I told you about Tanishk? Right, so Tanishk is named after Kanishk because of the purity of gold they had. And the main reason is that Kushana Empire जो है, that reached its zenith when Silk route was the most prosperous. जो Chinese silk है, which was in very huge demand in European nations. So this Silk route which connected China, Asia, few countries of Africa also, and finally to European countries. India was a very important center of this Silk Route. So this map here represents Indo-Greek kingdom. Then Scythians, which are Shakas. अब इसमें एक और चीज हमको जानना है, जो Scythians हैं, they are a group of people, a tribe, but they do not have one rule at one particular region. They are ruling many provinces, and these provinces, जो rulers हैं, जो governors हैं, they are called satrap. तो जो satrap system है, this is very popular in case of Shakas. Maybe they have learnt about satrap system from Indo-Greeks. अब शाका में इसमें भी एक देखो एक बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग चीज है, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल इंडियन गवर्नमेंट कौन सा कैलेंडर यूज करती है? शक संवत. विक्रम संवत इज डेफिनेटली देयर, बट शाका कैलेंडर यूज करते हैं. शाका कैलेंडर स्टार्ट्स इन 78 एडी. अब इसको भी लेके जैसे आप आर्य शर्मा पढ़ोगे, तो आर्य शर्मा में ये है कि शाका कैलेंडर वाज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड बाय कनिष्क, बट दैट इज नॉट करेक्ट. अभी जो जितना भी इंफॉर्मेशन है, बिकॉज आर्य शर्मा वाज रिटन मच अर्लियर, अभी जो इंफॉर्मेशन है, बिकॉज कनिष्क का जो टाइम पीरियड है दैट इज अराउंड 160 BC, एंड शाका कैलेंडर स्टार्ट्स फ्रॉम 78 sorry not BC, 160 AD, and Shaka calendar starts from 78 AD. अब जो 78 AD है, at this point of time Shaka rulers had established their rule in India. So the first Shaka ruler, Chastana, his name is Chastana, he perhaps introduced this new calendar. So as of now, जो existing theory है that Shaka calendar did not start by Kushanas but by Shaka rulers. So that is something which you should know. Parthians के साथ हमको बस ये Iranian जो contact है, that has a very important impact on trade and commerce, on some aspects of culture. But जो कुशान्स हैं उनके बारे में हमको सबसे ज़्यादा जानना है. So Parthians they ruled a smaller region. But जो Kushan, especially this is the rule of Kanishk, this rule not only covered India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, but also regions of Central Asia, ये पूरा region है, and some regions of China also, जो अभी Xinjiang region है. Right now Xinjiang region which often remains in news because of Uyghurs Muslims, right? So Xinjiang region जो है, that was also ruled by Kanishk. So this entire rule, in fact the rule was so huge that even in India he had two capitals. One of the capital is Mathura. Mathura is of course the Mathura is the second important capital. Ujjain I think is another capital, if I'm forgetting actually. He had two capitals. I think one was Takshila. एक बार मुझे verify करना पड़ेगा. Sorry? हाँ, एक तक्षशिला है इधर in the region of Gandhar, and one in Mathura. So such was the extent of his empire. तो यहाँ पे जो, and by the way this is also another very important trap जो बहुत लोग confused रहते हैं. Kanishk is not the founder of Kushan dynasty. So these are some traps which we should be very clear about. जैसे Indo-Greeks are the one who introduced gold coins. ये fact है. Kushanas are not. Kanishk is not the founder of Kushan dynasty. तो यहाँ पे main focus हमारा होगा to know about the political development and few of their important contributions. We do not have to remember a lot of things. There are very few things which we need to remember. So just write down, give the first heading. Purushpur. Sorry, it is Purushpur. Thank you, Nikunj. It is Purushpur. Hanji. Indo-Greeks, I will not use the word tribal settlement for Indo-Greeks because जो Greek civilization है, that is a prospering, well-established civilization, and these are remnants of Alexander. When Alexander won over a larger part of area, many governors were appointed. At the time of Mauryan Empire, these governors had to recede back into Central Asian region part, but when Mauryan Empire declined, then they again attacked India. So I will not use the word tribe for Indo-Greeks, but for others I can. Mm-hmm.
So they, just like when they are coming, so they make previously tribes their vassals or their subjects, or they completely wipe out previous tribes?
No, they definitely completely did not wipe out previous tribes. So he is asking that when these invasions occurred, did they completely wipe out the previous tribes? So no, that because we do not have any evidence of that. In fact, जो evidence ये है, because these are tribes, their main mode of economic activity is through wars. Spoils of war is the most important economic activity. जो भी हमने चीजें जीत ली आपस में हमने बांट लिया, right? But later they also realize that this is not how things will go on. Somehow human psychic works in a similar manner. So they also realize that this cannot go on, so they also feel this need of ruling a territory. So Shakas, Parthians, Kushans, all of them are tribes. For example, Kushans at one point of time, they created a lot of nuisance for China. Same is also true for Scythians. Scythians created a lot of nuisance for China, and because of that, this Great Wall of China was built, right? So that Scythians cannot enter into Chinese territory. So when these people started settling, when they won over significant territory of India, and because there is no central administration to defend these territories from these attacks, so when they started settling, a need was felt to consolidate their rule, and for consolidation, the best thing forward is to adopt local religion, local culture, because you have to win over local people. So all of them in true spirit became Indians. So even though they are foreign invaders, they became Indians in true spirit. But ये जो wiping out of local population है, local clan है, we do not find evidence of any of these four invasions. Neither in case of Greeks, Shakas, Parthians or Kushans. So Indo-Greek rule, just write down. Mohan is asking what are the major heads of the causes of decline of the Mauryan Empire. देखो मौर्यन एम्पायर के डिक्लाइन का जो सबसे बड़ा कारण तो ऑफ कोर्स यही है. आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू मेक यू राइट बट वेरी ब्रीफली आई विल टेल यू. द बिगेस्ट रीजन इज ऑफ कोर्स द एम्पायर इज टू बिग टू गवर्न. द फर्स्ट रीजन. सो अभी तक ऐसा है कि एम्पायर विल रिमेन इंटैक्ट इफ देयर इज अ रूलर हु हैज रेस्पेक्ट, हु हैज अथॉरिटी ओवर पीपल. दैट इज ट्रू फॉर चंद्रगुप्त मौर्य, दैट इज ऑल्सो ट्रू फॉर अशोका. बट व्हाट डिड आई टेल यू, जो पर्सनल कैरेक्टर ऑफ रूलर है, जो हीरो जो कॉन्सेप्ट है पूरा, दैट डज नॉट गो ऑन फॉर वेरी लॉन्ग. ऑल डायनेस्टीज डिक्लाइन. सो वेन एवर देर इज अ कल्ट पर्सनैलिटी, दैट द रूल इज बिकॉज ऑफ वन पर्सनैलिटी, दैट कैन नॉट गो ऑन फॉर वेरी लॉन्ग. And that happens with all. This is again a common theme across history. This happens across the history. This does not only happen in India. It happens across the world. So the first reason is that the empire is too big to govern. The second important reason is that all of these smaller kingdoms which were conquered by Mauryans, they also have more agriculture surplus, more iron mines have been discovered. So they started consolidating their rule, right? And because of that they started protesting. And जो फिर Mauryan administration है, that starts crumbling because of corruption in administration itself. For example, Arthashastra talks a lot about corruption in administration, that how corruption can occur and what is the responsibility of king to reduce that corruption or to completely end the corruption. But corruption also props up in Mauryan administration, so they are not able to maintain such a large standing army. And gradually their power declines, and whatever control they had, because they controlled the entire Deccan region, they could not maintain a direct control for a very long region. Because every time someone is revolting, then you have to go into a war. आप कब तक war करते रहोगे? People will revolt. People will try to find autonomy, their own autonomy. And they were not able to maintain that, they were not able to do that, and gradually the empire disintegrated. Write down here. Indo-Greeks were the first. Greeks were the first. Indo-Greek kingdom. The heading is Indo-Greek kingdom. Greeks were the first to attack India. The northwest part of India the northwest part of India was ruled by Indo-Greek rulers from the 2nd century BC to beginning of 1st century AD. To beginning of 1st century AD. The most important king is Menander. The most important king is Menander. Menander bracket में लिख लेना, from 165 to 145 BC. Again, this is an estimation. The most important ruler is Menander or Milind. He is also called Milind at places. Milind even today is a common name in India. Milind. He was initially a king of Bactria. Bactria is a region in Afghanistan and Central Asia. He was initially a king in Bactria. However, later his empire extended. Even to North India. मिलिंद पान्हो, इसी में लिख लेना, मिलिंद पान्हो at places it is written as Milind Panha, OA, ये different है. Milind Panho, so this is not because I cannot write O and A, that is literally at some places it is Milind Panha. So Milind Panho, हाँ जी. Menander. अच्छा पता नहीं, मैंने अब somehow I have read, why have I read it meander then? So I will check it. अच्छा MEN, right? MEN. You are actually. Your mind plays tricks with you. Thank you for telling me actually, because even in my notes I have written Menander and I've always read it as Meander and I have never found any fault. I have never found any fault with Meander. Anyways, write down Milind Panho. Milind Panho records a dialogue between Milind and Nagasena. Between Milind and Nagasena. Between Milind and Nagasena, a Buddhist monk after this dialogue Milind converts to Buddhism. Milind converts to Buddhism. Write down in next bullet point. Indo-Greeks were the first ruler. Indo-Greeks were the first ruler to introduce gold coins in India. To introduce gold coins in India. To introduce gold coins in India. However, silver and copper coins were more prevalent. Silver and copper coins were more prevalent. They used bilingual inscriptions. They used bilingual inscriptions. They used bilingual inscriptions, both Greek and Kharosthi. Both Greek and Kharosthi. Write on next paragraph. However, because of Indo-Scythians, Indo-Scythians तो बाद में होंगे. Because of Scythians and their attack, the Indo-Greek rule declined in India. The Indo-Greek rule declined in India. तो ये जो Indo-Scythians हैं, they are also called Shakas. So give this next heading. यहाँ पे आपको सिर्फ दो नाम याद रखना है. The first is Chasthana because he is the one who introduced Shaka calendar, and second is Rudraraman. Rudraraman is a person. We have record of Rudraraman constructing Sudarshan Lake. So these are the only two names which you need to remember. So आप लिख लो. Shakas ruled over Gandhara. Shakas ruled over Gandhara. Ruled over Gandhara. And because of successive attacks to Indo-Greek kingdoms, because of their successive attacks to Indo-Greek kingdoms, the Indo-Greek rule declined. Indo-Greek rule declined, and they came to acquire a much larger territory than Indo-Greeks. Much larger territory than Indo-Greeks. Chasthana is the most important ruler. Who ruled over Ujjain. So अभी जो शाकास हैं, again Indo-Scythians, they are not they do not have one combined kingdom. They are ruling different Chhatraps or Satrap. So this term Chhatrap or Satrap is often mentioned in case of Shakas. So for example, जो Chastana है, he is ruling over Western Chhatrap. Ujjain is his capital. So Ujjain becomes a very important center even in later part. We'll talk about that. Harsh ka jo capital hai, that is also Ujjain. So we'll talk about Ujjain later also. It is believed that the Shaka era started with a new calendar. Shaka era, a new calendar, comma mein likh lena, new calendar. Shaka era, a new calendar started at his ascension to power in 78 AD. Started with his ascension to power when he became king. Ascension to power. Not extension. Ascension. When he becomes the king. Ascension to power in 78 AD. It is also, this calendar is also used by Government of India. 78 AD. Date, I don't know date, but it starts in 78 AD. This calendar is used by Government of India. Sorry? This is a solar calendar. Complete solar, that's actually हाँ सही बात है, lunar same कुछ वो भी होते हैं, semi solar भी होते हैं, but I will not comment on that. It is completely solar calendar, but it is not a lunar calendar. It is a solar calendar. एक लाइन में लिख लेना, it is used by Government of India. It is used by Government of India. Previously it was believed, एक और लाइन यहीं पे, I will write you a disclaimer. Previously it was believed it was started by Kanishk, a Kushan ruler. Rudra Daman 1, next paragraph में लिख लेना, Rudra Daman 1 Rudra Daman 1, who was grandson of Chastana, is another great ruler who is famously known for his repair work of Sudarshan Lake. At Kathiawar. He himself was a great scholar. He himself was a great scholar. Who patronized Sanskrit literature. He took the title of Mahakshatrap. He took the title of Mahakshatrap. At places it is written as Makashatrap, but Mahakshatrap, the greatest of Kshatraps, right? Mahakshatrap. He married a Hindu woman. He married a Hindu woman and converted to Hinduism. Converted to Hinduism. He also maintained marital relationship with Satvahanas. He also maintained marital relationship with Satvahanas. However, the empire declined. The empire declined after their defeat. At the hands of Satvahana Emperor Gautamiputra Shatkarni. Satvahana Emperor This is a very interesting feature of Satvahana rule, जो कि हम discuss करेंगे. Even though the society was patriarchal, the kings were named after their mother. So Gautamiputra Shatkarni. Gautami is mother of Shatkarni. Gautamiputra Shatkarni is considered as the greatest ruler of Satvahana. एक लाइन और लिख लेना. Later, in northwest region, with the coming of Kushanas, with the coming of Parthians and Kushanas, the empire declined. Parthians के बारे में just one line is more than enough. Write down. Parthians were Iranians. That we do not have information about. Write down. Parthians were a tribe from Iran. The most important king was बहुत ही अजीब सा नाम है, Gondopharens. The most important king was Gondopharens, in whose reign Saint Thomas it's said to have visited India. For propagation of Christianity. आज के क्लास का जो लास्ट टॉपिक है कुशानास. So Kushana belonged to a tribe called Yuezhi tribe. This tribe created a lot of problem for Chinese kings, as well as it also created, so they dwelled in this entire Central Asian region from Xinjiang up to Central Asia, regions of Uzbekistan, up till Uzbekistan. And they created a lot of problems for all the kingdoms in surrounding that region. So when finally Great Wall of China was erected, China became in a way inaccessible to them. They could not cross into China. So they pushed themselves after that, because of this, they pushed themselves into northwest region of India. There, again, the main economic activity is spoils of war. They will loot, plunder, and the spoils of war will be shared among the tribe. But Kushanas, when they attacked India at this point of time, there is no central authority here. Mauryan Empire has declined. Indo-Greeks have declined. Shakas, Parthians, they are there, but they are also not very powerful. So this opportunity was utilized by Kushanas, and they established their kingdom in India. And again it occurs in, so initially Kanishk is the most important ruler who ruled for a significant period of time, and during his reign, the last Buddhist council, which is fourth Buddhist council, that occurred, and in this Buddhist council, Buddhism got divided into two branches called Mahayana and Hinayan. Right? So Buddhist council ke baare mein, again, details of Buddhist council will be discussed in art and culture classes. But Kanishk is a great patron of both Buddhism and at the same time Shaivism. Vishnu. They are the worshippers of Vishnu as well as Buddha. How do we know that? Because the coins which we have found, it has pictures of Buddha also and Vishnu also. So they patronized both Hinduism and Buddhism. And the reason this empire became so prosperous, they ruled for a significant duration of time. The reason it becomes prosperous is because India is a very important center of Silk Route. And their main generation of revenue is taxes, custom duties. Agriculture तो है ही, but जो custom duties हैं, plus the things which are being produced in India, which are exported to other part of the world, that becomes the most important economic activity. And because of this, because this also was part of a very important trade route, lot of gold coins came to India from outside, and this is the reason why the quality of gold coins of Kushanas is even better than Guptas, who came later. Right? So जो gold coin on a much larger scale है, that occurred during Kushan rule. अच्छा, by the way, all this invasion, for example, जो Indo-Greek invasion है, एक I think a very important point which I have missed, but डिटेल में आपको पढ़ाएंगे, that एक पूरा नया स्कूल ऑफ आर्ट स्कल्पचर डेवलप होता है because of that, which is called गंधारा स्कूल ऑफ आर्ट. तो इन आर्ट एंड कल्चर क्लासेस जो गंधारा स्कूल ऑफ आर्ट है, जब वी विल स्टडी अबाउट स्कल्पचर, you'll study various schools. For example, Mathura school, Gandhara school, Amravati school of art. So जो Gandhara school of art है, that develops because not only it takes features from Greeks and Romans, but also from Central Asia and also from India. So very distinctive form of art with its own unique features which are common to both Indian sculpture style as well as Greek sculpture style, is found in Gandhara, region surrounding Pakistan, Afghanistan and Punjab. ठीक है, तो ये एक अगेन बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट इंपैक्ट है इंडो ग्रीक रूल का. सो जस्ट राइट डाउन, Kushanas belonged to a tribe called Yuezhi tribe. Yuezhi tribe, who lived in the Chinese frontier, frontier and Central Asian region. In 30 AD, in 30 AD, Kushana Empire in India was established. Kushana Empire in India was established. (30 AD). Is established by, हाँ जी, सेंट थॉमस कैसे आ गए? तो कुछ सेंट थॉमस पहले कैसे आ गए? नहीं 30 AD. अच्छा, बाय द वे, शाकास कैलेंडर, कुशानास हैव एस्टैब्लिश्ड अ स्मॉल रीजन. ओके, ठीक है. सो दिस इज वेरी, ऐसा नहीं है कि कुशानास आर नॉट प्रेजेंट व्हेन शाकास हैव द प्रेवलेंस ऑफ द रीजन. कुशानास आर देयर, but they acquired a smaller territory, which territory became larger when Shakas declined and Parthians declined. So ऐसा नहीं है कि ये जो there is no overlap between Shakas and Parthians and Kushanas. They remained, they existed during same time, they were active in different region. But when we study this chronology, Shakas, Greeks, Shakas, Parthians and Kushanas, that chronology basically determines that their influence in Indian subcontinent region. So they definitely remained around same time, but even during Shakas, when Shakas are the most powerful Kshatraps, most powerful rulers in northwest frontier, they are active. But when Shakas and Parthians declined, Kushanas emerges as the most important ruler. ठीक है? You'll find, we can say, so not exactly, Kushanas are at this point of time, Kushanas are not ruling the entire northwest region. Definitely some region of northwest, but definitely not the entire northwest region. But gradually this expands to the entire northwest region. Entire Pakistan, regions of Afghanistan, Punjab and up to UP also, right? Cadphis, I don't know how to pronounce his name. He established his supremacy, write down, he established his supremacy over Kabul, Kandahar and Afghanistan. Kabul, Kandahar, ठीक है, Afghanistan, they're both part of Afghanistan only. Almost entire of Afghanistan they acquired. Write down in next paragraph, the greatest ruler Kabul, Kandahar, almost entire Afghanistan. Why Afghanistan is mentioned separately? Because Kabul and Kandahar at this point of time is already established, they are already established cities. Okay, but they gradually acquired the entire modern day Afghanistan, which we know. But Kabul and Kandahar जो है, they are very prosperous cities. ठीक है? So they already were established as prosperous cities. Anyways, sorry, हाँ Kandahar. Sorry, not Kandahar, Kandahar. Not Gandhar. Gandhar होता तो मैं गांधार बोलता ना. Write down, the greatest ruler of this dynasty, was Kanishk. Whose empire extended from Uzbekistan and Tajikistan to Punjab, as well as up to parts of Magad, as well as up to parts of Magad. His main capital was Purushpur. His main capital was Purushpur, which is modern day Peshawar. His main capital was Purushpur. आप ब्रैकेट में लिख सकते हो, it is modern day Peshawar. While Mathura was his second capital. Mathura was his second capital. He was a great patron of art and architecture. He was great patron of art and architecture. The Gandhara School of Art, flourished under him. Flourished under him. He also propagated Mahayana form of Buddhism. Mahayana form of Buddhism. Not only in India, but also in Central Asia and China. तो ये जो महायान फॉर्म ऑफ बुद्धिज्म इनफैक्ट एक आप लिख सकते हो, ही कन्वीन्ड द फोर्थ बुद्धिस्ट काउंसिल. He convened the fourth Buddhist council in Kashmir. His court included many scholars such as Ashwaghosh, Vasumitra, Nagarjun, and Charak. During his reign, write down, during his reign, trade of India with China and Roman Empire, prospered as India was an important center of ancient Silk Route. एक लास्ट पैराग्राफ में लिख लेना. Indo-Greeks, Shakas, Parthians and Kushans. Indo-Greeks, Shakas, Parthians and Kushans though were foreign invaders, though were foreign invaders, but they were completely Indianized. But they were completely Indianized. Indianized in ways and culture. In ways and culture. In ways and culture. अब देखो कुशान अंपायर ऑल्सो डिसइंटीग्रेटेड. तो नेक्स्ट क्लास में वी विल शिफ्ट आवर फोकस टू नाउ डेक्कन रीजन एंड साउथ इंडिया. तो Satavahanas will start our discussion with Satavahanas, and then we will talk about Cholas, Cheras and Pandyas. There is a question by Abhishek. मैं बहुत देर से देख रहा था. Capital of Kalinga during Ashoka is तोशाली और धौली. I think they are both same names. तोशाली एंड धौली जो है ये अलग नाम नहीं है, ये सेम ही है, if I am not mistaken.